Hi everyone, today we're talking about how the US and Russia were in a dispute which is called the Cold War. It was a big deal that happened after World War II and lasted for a long time. It wasn't a typical war with lots of fighting between the two countries, but it shaped the world we live in today. Let's figure out why the 5 W's.
Thank you, Ben. Starting with the 5 W's, starting with who? The main countries were the United States and the Soviet Union, which was basically Russia and its close neighbors back then. Think of them as the leaders of two big teams.
Now we have what? It was a long period of disagreement, competition, and mistrust between the US and Russia. They didn't fight each other a lot, that's why it was cold. With their huge armies and scary weapons, especially nuclear bombs, they tried to beat each other in the space race, like getting to the moon, and they spied on each other.
Geek.
Now the where. Thank you, Brandon. It happened all over the globe, and Europe was split into two. But they also competed for friends and influence in Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
Now we talk about the win. It started right after World War II, ended around 1947, and finished when the Soviet Union broke apart in 1991. So, it lasted for about 45 years.
And finally, the why. The biggest reason was they had completely different ideas about how countries should work. The USA believed in democracy, people vote for leaders, and capitalism, where people and private companies own businesses. The Soviet Union believed in communism, where the government owns everything and controls people's lives, with only one political. Going back to you, Ben.
Thank you, Jack. So how did this big disagreement affect things? Let's look at the main areas.
Alright, let me tell you. Politically, it was like a giant argument over ideas. The US and its friends, a team called NATO, tried to stop the Soviet Union ideas from spreading. The Soviet Union and its team, the Warsaw Pact, tried to spread communism. They argued a lot, tried to scare each other with their military power, and sometimes got dangerously close to a real war, like during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when everyone was terrified of nuclear bombs. Alright, tell us more, Ben.
Economically, it was about two different ways of handling money and business. The US way, capitalism, means a lot of private businesses competing. The Soviet way, communism, meant the government controlled almost everything. But budgets? Over time, the US style seemed to work better for making things people wanted to buy, while the Soviet styles struggled.
For regular people, the Cold War was scary. Everyone worried about nuclear war in America. People were sometimes afraid of secret communism. The Red Scare. In the Soviet Union, the country's controlled people didn't have much leaders. Governments on both sides used TV, movies, and posters, propaganda to make their side look to make the other side look bad. Sadly, mainly people suffered and died in smaller proxy wars that the US and the Soviet fueled in places like Korea or Vietnam. But one good thing came out of the competition. The space race pushed science and technology forward really fast.
Thank you, Ben and Brandon. Eventually, the Soviet Union system couldn't keep up, and it broke apart in 1991. That was the end of the Cold War. It changed the world map and left the U.S. as the most powerful country for a while.
Even though it's over, we still deal with some of the effects today, like nuclear weapons was still existing and some countries still not getting along. So that very long, tense staring contest really did change everything.